Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is another episode of the Letterboxd Roundup. This will be for the month of May. If you're new to this channel, this is a video series where I take all the movies that I logged for a month on Letterboxd and I talk about them a little bit and explain the rating I gave and why I gave it that rating. Please like, comment, and subscribe and let me know how you feel about these movies as well. The first movie I watched for the month was on May 1st and that was Fargo. Now this is a very classic film. Pretty much everybody's heard of Fargo, even if they haven't seen it. This is a movie that's been on my watch list for many years, and I finally got around to watching it. I picked this up either late last year or early this year during a Shout Factory sale. This movie is directed by the Coen brothers, and it's about this guy who plots a scheme to have his wife get kidnapped, and he's going to have his father-in-law pay the ransom money to get her back, and then the money will be divided between him and then the other two that he got to kidnap her. Of course, the plan does not go as it's supposed to, and it becomes a really chaotic ride. A simple scheme to have someone kidnapped and then get the money and be done with it turns into a murder and much more. That's when a police chief played by Frances McDormand gets involved. And she starts to investigate the case of this person that was murdered. This is a really great crime thriller movie. The acting is really great in this, and the shots, the cinematography, everything about this is just really good. This is a great movie to watch like in the winter time. There's a lot of snow and it just has like winter vibes to it. It's also got a little bit of comedy mixed into it, so if you're into thrillers that aren't super serious but are serious but still have a little bit of comedy mixed in, then I think you'd really enjoy this. The Coen brothers have a very stylistic art to their movies. They also did No Country for Old Men and The Big Lebowski for other examples of some of their work. I definitely see myself rewatching this every year. It's a really just one of those movies that will forever be a classic. If you have not seen Fargo, I would highly recommend it. It's probably one of the best thrillers ever made. Overall, I gave Fargo a 4.5 out of 5. Next, on May 3rd, I watched the newest Marvel film, Thunderbolts. Now, this is a very interesting Marvel film. When this film was announced, nobody was very interested in it. What it is basically a cast. If you've seen DC's Suicide Squad, it's basically like the Marvel's version of Suicide Squad. The best way to describe this team is they're basically a team of could-have-been superheroes. They all in some way have some sort of trauma or something that happened that put them on a darker path when they could have gone on a better path. For example, you have Yelena, who is the sister of Black Widow. Black Widow went on to become an Avenger, while Yelena got stuck with being an assassin for most of her life. Now, after the events of Avengers Endgame, she no longer has Black Widow, and she feels very alone, and she doesn't have very many people around her to support her. And then you have other characters like the Winter Soldier, who has gone through so much trauma in his life, and then John Walker, who is supposed to be the next Captain America, but went a little too far with the power that he was given, and because of that, thrown out of the position. Now, the biggest thing that I loved about this movie is that the villain in this movie isn't specifically a person. While the villain is a person, it's a villain called the Void. What it is just a metaphor or a symbolism for a mental illness and depression. Without spoiling too much, the Void is essentially a villain that is created from the character's dark side. In a way, he basically lets his depression take him over, and he becomes the Void. And what the Void does is he basically casts people into shadows, and they go into this like loop where they're constantly reliving their biggest traumas. All these characters have very serious mental health issues, and this movie sort of has the theme of overcoming mental illness and getting together and overcoming those challenges. I think if you're someone that has depression or suffers with anxiety, then this kind of a movie will really have an impact on you. But I was really impressed with this movie. This movie took a serious topic and handled it so well. There's not many Marvel movies that have like deeper themes to it So I think it's really cool that this Marvel movie has like a deep theme to it. Everybody played their part in this movie so well too, especially Florence Pugh, who played Yelena. Overall, I was very surprised with this movie, just as everybody was, and I definitely think that it was the best Marvel film since Avengers Endgame. While Deadpool and Wolverine was fun, and Spider-Man No Way Home was awesome, this movie, in my opinion, I just really like those deep themes that are to it. So overall, because of those deep themes and just how surprised at the quality of this film I was, I give it a 4 out of 5. Next, on May 6th, I watched a horror classic, Suspiria. This is a classic horror film that I've wanted to watch for so long, but it was just always so expensive to buy. This movie was put out on 4K by Synapse Films, and they have, you know, like most boutique labels, their prices are very high. But one day I saw there was a sale on it, and I knew I had to hop on it before it went back up in price. This movie was released in 1977. It's an Italian horror film, and it's about a girl who goes to this new school, and she starts to realize that there's something dark and maybe sinister going on behind the scenes. This movie has incredible colors throughout it. The cinematography and lighting is so good in this. This honestly may have some of the best lighting of any movie ever. This is a film by Dario Argento. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I may be wrong. But he's a filmmaker that I've wanted to get into. It's just a lot of his movies are on boutique labels like Arrow Video or this company that put out Suspiria, so it's a little harder to watch those. Of course, I could just rent them or something, but I don't know, something about watching it on the disc just feels right to me. So I'll definitely be looking out for his movies in the future, in future Arrow Video sales and Synapse Film sales. I have seen Phantom of the Paradise, and I did really enjoy that. I actually didn't know that he directed that one until after I saw this, and I did just pick up another one of his films in another sale that they just did. So stay tuned for that to see what film that was in my next physical media haul. But this is a really great, fun, suspenseful, intense movie. I always like movies where there's like a mystery happening and you don't quite know what's going on, and you're kind of discovering it with the character as it goes along. Overall, I gave Suspiria a 4 out of 5. Next, on May 11th, I watched a Brian De Palma film, Snake Eyes. Now, this movie stars Nicolas Cage, and it's about a like corrupt cop who's tasked with like watching this high-profile government person at a boxing event. It's interesting because he's a corrupt cop, but he kind of gets thrown into a position where he has to actually be a hero. Now the plot starts when the government official that he's supposed to be protecting gets shot, and it just breaks down into chaos. He orders the arena to be shut down so nobody can leave or come in, and he basically spends most of the movie trying to interrogate people and figure out who's involved and what's going on. I thought this was a really fun movie. I had a good time with it. I really liked the whole, you know, staying in the arena thing. In a way, it kind of reminded me of the recent M. Night Shyamalan movie called Trap. Nicolas Cage is also really great in this. This is like, you know, exactly what you would expect from Nicolas Cage. He's very out there and all over the place with his acting. Sometimes he goes a little overboard with his acting, but you know, it's Nicolas Cage and that's kind of his thing, so you just kind of expect it in his movies. I've become a really big Brian De Palma fan over the years. Every time I see a new Brian De Palma film, I'm a really big fan of it. This one doesn't make the top of his list for me of the films I've seen of his, but it's still a really enjoyable film. Overall, I give Snake Eyes a 3.5 out of 5. Next, on May 21st, I watched the newest Final Destination film, Final Destination Bloodlines. Now, this is another new release that I was very surprised by and very impressed by. Now, we haven't really gotten a very solid Final Destination film since Final Destination 3. Final Destination 4 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Final Destination 5 was fine, but it didn't really compare at all to the first three, in my opinion. This new one, Final Destination Bloodlines, is, in my opinion, probably the best Final Destination. I think it for sure has the best characters in the entire franchise. They're all very likable, and there's moments in this movie where certain ones are put in danger and you actually are worried for them and don't want them to die. That's very important in these kind of films. You're supposed to not want these characters to die, but sometimes they give you such horrible characters that you almost root for death to take them. But I really like the whole plot and story of this one as well. These movies always like connect to each other in a way, and I really love how they connect this one to the previous movies. I especially love what they did with Tony Todd's character. and how they had a nice send-off for him. Tony Todd unfortunately passed away last year, and this was the final film he made before he passed away. At the point of filming this, he knew that he was dying, so the director of this film gave him the opportunity to speak from his heart and go off script. Typically in these movies, there's a scene where the victims of the movie go to the morgue and they speak to him about death, and he kind of gives advice on how they can try to beat death. So Tony Todd usually has some kind of monologue that he gives to the main characters of the film. So for this one, they told him that he could speak from his heart and say whatever he wanted. He has a really great monologue in this, and it really hits harder if you know beforehand that he was dying and was given the opportunity to speak from his heart. If you're looking for a fun like thrill ride and you're not wanting to get into any kind of horror that's super, scary or anything like that, then this is definitely a kind of movie you could check out. Overall, I really enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines, and I think it may be the best Final Destination film, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. Next, on May 31st, I watched Pumpkinhead. This is a movie I bought during a Shout Factory sale last year, I believe, and I just never got around to watching it. I had never heard of this movie until I noticed it when I was looking through the items that were available on the sale. It seemed like an interesting one just based on the cover art. I thought that was pretty cool, and I was very curious about this movie and see what it was about. This movie is about a father who his son is killed by a group of teenagers who accidentally run him over with their bikes. So he goes to this witch seeking revenge on them, and what he ends up doing is resurrecting this pumpkinhead creature who, when you resurrect him, he goes after and kills whoever you want. So he has the pumpkinhead go after these kids so that he can get revenge for them killing his son. Now, of course, once the pumpkinhead starts actually killing them, the dad starts to snap out of it a little bit, and he realizes the mistake he's made. So he tries to call it off, but of course, once it's done, it's done. You can't go back, you can't call it off. So he starts to help these kids fight back against it to try to stop it. Overall, I thought it was an interesting film. It was different than what I've seen before. It's a nice like fairy tale film, so I think that's cool about it. This is kind of like one of those stories where you could sit at a campfire and tell it. The practical effects in this movie is really great too. I think that's a really big standout. The pumpkinhead creature itself looks really cool, and that's a plus for this film. Overall, it was a good movie, and I give it a 3 out of 5. Last, also on May 31st, I watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is a really great aliens horror thriller film. It stars Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, and a very young Jeff Goldblum. I believe this was Jeff Goldblum's first film, or certainly, if not his first film, it was his first big one. So far, everything I've seen Donald Sutherland in has been great. Now, as of a year ago, the only thing I've seen him in was the Hunger Games franchise, but since I've started looking at some older horror films, Donald Sutherland has popped up in a few of them, and every single one I've seen him in, he's been great, and the movie is always good. Now, if you've seen They Live by John Carpenter, this is very similar in a way. This is about an alien life form that comes down to Earth, and it starts to make clones of people, and it's slowly taking over this town, so you kind of don't know who is actually their real human form, or if it's the alien clone that's pretending to be them. This movie's very fun, very entertaining. If you're into They Live or alien kind of films, or movies where you're uncertain of who's who and what's real, then I would highly recommend this. After watching this, I immediately wanted to rewatch it again. Overall, I gave Invasion of the Body Snatchers a 4.5 out of 5. And that's it. That's all the new movies I watched for the month of May. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you stick around for future videos. I do have a special video coming out this Friday. I'll give you a hint. It's related to the date. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.